G'day guys, this is a National Panasonic R3000. It's actually a barn find. I picked it up for nothing. Yeah, it hasn't been running for, who knows how long, 20, 30 years. It was given to me from a store because they'd only just received it, but when I picked it up and had a good look at it, I said, hey guys, we're missing a power supply. We're missing also the battery door and the door that covers the power supply and the cord for it. Not only that, but it's also had a mice living in it. So we got some mice turd in there. They've chewed the dial cord. So it's it's a real take a chance. Is this thing going to work or isn't it? So I thought, for nothing, I'll bring it home and see if I can do a resurrection on it. Apart from the mice crap that's in there, the actual face of it is in relatively good condition. Not too bad at all. This front cover has preserved it somewhat. This is your pretty standard indication of what the bands are and selection of the world and all that sort of thing. So again, if I can get it up and running, it'll be not a bad radio. I mean, these were National's top end radio at the time. They weren't cheap. They were probably the equivalent of about 2 weeks' wages. This model came out, I think, between 1965 and about 1967. There was two versions of this. There was the R3000, which is this one, which is all AM and shortwave, and there was an RF3000, which occupied the low band as an FM band, and then you had your AM and your shortwaves as well. So let's have a close look at this thing. So working our way across the front, we've got a tuning and battery indicator there. Got our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different bands there. Volume on off, bass, treble, fine tune, which is good that all the knobs are there. On the side, we've got our main tuning dial. Got our band select there. Off to the rear, got our compartment here which occupied the house for the cord, power cord. That there would have been your voltage selector to select from 220, 110, whatever country you're in. Battery door down the bottom there. And across here we've got, looks like an aerial, an earth antenna. Earphone, phono, that's interesting. Yeah, so that's the deal on the back there. So National Panasonic's 6 band, 12 transistor, 4 diode, model R3000. We've even got a serial number on there. Woohoo! I've actually watched, when I picked this up, I looked on YouTube and watched a couple of videos, and one of the comical things I saw on a YouTube clip was a person who had picked up one of these as well, and they assumed that this chap here was some kind of stand. However, it's actually not. That's the antenna for your shortwave. So I had a bit of a laugh to myself. We've also got a dial light on top. It's not too bad, but you can see the condition of it's pretty howdy-doody. Dusty as all hell. And again, there's the mouse turd. Yum. that's the band select. That should work when you switch between the bands, and that chap is supposed to flick across each one of these barrels to actually show you which band you're on, and the center point is your tuning. But yeah, nice looking unit. Also down the front here you have these two little windows here for the bass and treble, and as you'd move the knob, as you can see, that moves up and down. I suspect that's also driven by some kind of dial cord, but fortunately that hasn't been munched on, and neither has the main tuner itself. But if you've got one of these, you know how good it is. And if you're in the market to find an extremely good DXing AM radio, this is the animal you want to have. However, this animal that I've got, can I get it working? I have no idea. So someone's definitely been in it, because we're missing a screw here in the center. What else are we missing? Another screw missing there. Another screw missing there. Yeah, so somebody's really had a good go at this. But I'm really perplexed as to why they've taken out the power supply. I can't understand why. This antenna thing seems to be quite okay. And with that, there's a slot. Where are we? Yeah, there's a slot in here that on this model you fold this antenna up like so, and then you can place the front cover into the slot. Just trying to do all this single-handedly there. Place the front cover into the slot, and you end up with something that looks like that. So yeah, excellent DXing AM radio. Was National's high-end product at the time. Very expensive. Today you'll find these on eBay, you know, not a terribly cheap unit, you know, around about anywhere from $200 up to around $400 for a good, happy working one, which is not too bad for an item that's, you know, got the age that it has. So let me get a screwdriver to it and pop the back off, and let's see what sort of trouble I'm in for in trying to get this thing resurrected. We got a couple of spider webs in there, and we got a little bit of gunge. Aerial's been disconnected. Battery wires have been cut. That's always handy. We've got something else that's been cut here. It's not a good sign. Alright. Oh, let's just have a good look at inside. Ish. Mouse turds are falling out of it left, right and centre. Look at this thing. What a beast. Wow. I mean, it's pretty cool the amount of workmanship that's gone into this. back in this time. So okay, we've got cut wires. Cut wire there off the volume control. Where the power supply hooked up to, this is definitely not factory stock. I have no idea why someone's put in a mains powered terminal block in here, but I'm not seeing anywhere where the battery supply would go. Okay, we've got two really decent bar antennas here. Yeah, they're really good. Got two decent speakers in it. There's our tuner, a big barrel. Oh yeah, that's all working. Got our dial cord there. Yeah, there you go. That's all dial cord, and that one's broken. So even to clean this is full chassis out, which is going to be a bit of fun. But working out where to connect the power back up to is going to be an interesting thing. I'll just see if I can get a schematic for it. Hold on. Alright, I was able to download the service manual for the National Panasonic R3000. That was good. Looks like a bit of information for this particular radio is on the internet, which is very, very handy. So I was able to get the schematics, and I was also on the website. Showed me the layout of all the trimmers, the audio amps section, and the IF section, which is pretty good. So just having a bit of a look at it. Let me zoom down here. There. Just having a bit of a look at it. There's our power supply. Goes through to the switch. Goes into this plug here. So what I need to do is locate this area here. And jump in some power for it. The switch the on-off switch, because I've got this wire, black wire coming off the back of it. I'll have to try and track everything through and see what's what. But it's not too bad. Certainly very, very involved in the shortwave and IF circuitry, particularly with how they've done all these trimmers. I mean, it's overkill really, but no wonder these have a good reputation for being an excellent AM DXing radio. But quite a monster, quite a monster. I've got plenty of bits of cobweb and stuff in it. It's actually surprisingly relatively clean. I mean, there's a bit of battery corrosion there from a leaking battery. Speaking of which, I wonder what the condition of the actual battery case is like. Let's have a look at that. Yeah. Got a few bitey bits and pieces in there. I don't think any batteries have been in here for a hell of a long time. Can't quite see the terminals, but I dare say they're very corroded. So what do we got here? Well, that's handy. Got the layout for the dial cords, so if I get the chassis out, I might be able to sort all that out. A few more bits of bug and stuff. That I've got no idea what it is. Yeah. Alright, there you go. Let me see what I can do with it. I'll get my schematic and start tracking things out and see if I can get any life out of it. Okay, I've been having a look at this schematic. I've also been studying the radio around the power supply area for the amplifier, and looking at it, I can't see any wiring here that's supposed to go to the battery box. However, I've tracked the plus is supposed to go to this first pin here, which is on this plug. And the negative goes to the center one, and then there's a separate negative that goes over to the volume, a separate earth. So that's where the volume, the wire off the back of the volume pot over here, where is he? There it is. That wire there off the volume pot, he's supposed to have earth. I found this wire here. I've checked it with a multimeter and that jumps to earth. So whether that was cut, I don't know, but the two of them don't remotely meet up. So what I'll do is I'll jump in underneath the bottom of this plug, a couple of clip leads, and connect up some power. So where I'm going to come into is under here. I'll jump positive, negative here, and then I'll sort out what's going on with this wire off the back of the on-off volume control. It runs on 9 volts, so we'll get a 9-volt battery and see if we can get some life out of it. Okay, I've jumped into the rear of that plug down there, put it into a 9-volt source. Got no audio, but I have got, if I can get the camera in there, can I get it? Where am I? I have got dial lights, so I've got power running through some of it, but I suspect I need to work out what's going on with this earth wire here. That, according to the schematics, is going to power up the amplifier. So I'll jump that to earth, see if we get any life out of it. Okay, clipped it onto the cut-off wire that was on the on-off volume, join it onto this earth down here that I know is actually good. Oh, hey, we got sound, we got power. Let's put him on medium band and have a look. There you go. We got a runner. We've got a runner.
Okay, and if you look at a wider variety of different labor market indicators, you are seeing deterioration.
Cool. Okay. Well, that's awesome. We know we got a runner now. So the rest of it's going to be, well, pulling the chassis out of it, seeing if I can fix up the dial cord for the band select, then hard wiring in fresh wiring for the battery. At the moment, I'm running on a little 9-volt, battery here, but that's okay. I might even make it dual fuel. I'll make it run on D batteries as well as a 9-volt supply, either or, depending on what I've got at the time. So that's good. So that's running. Seems to be reasonably sensitive straight off the shelf.
Can do. Weekend. But before. Mogulum Beach.
Oh boy. Okay, well that's awesome. So now it's a matter of, doing some hard wiring, pulling this all out, seeing if I can fix up the dial cord over on this side here that's all broken and hanging down. Give it a clean up and barn fine running. Alright, let me get this section out now. Okay, I've removed all the screws and I've taken out the knobs for the chassis. Plunked all my bits in here. An old pill bottle's always very handy for your screws, that way you don't have to worry about them getting lost. So there's my knobs. There's those. Tuning knob. Actually, the condition of them is quite good, really. They'll clean up nicely. Should clean up very nicely. Quite well made too, I must add. So yeah, chassis is loose now. But what I do have to do is just unsolder a couple of things. I need to get the light there. I need to unsolder the dial light switch and also for the power meter / tuning indicator. Possibly, I think down here somewhere there's another wire I'm going to have to solder out. So yeah, we'll go to the next stage and then we'll go from there. Okay, after many screws and a bit of desoldering, we got the chassis out. So here's our little nest of rat turd. Down the side here we got our broken dial cord, which is for the band select. So I'm hoping I'll be able to get that back together because it'd be nice to have that working. A little bit of junk up here. There's our light bulbs. I mean, all up, it's pretty good. There's no real corrosion, apart from down the bottom corner there where the battery leaked. A little bit of corrosion sort of in there, but now that it's going to be in a state of resurrection, I'll be able to, get it to the best it can be, and it'll certainly be in a better home than sitting in some farm shed. So what do we got on this side? Let's have a good look. So it does come apart okay. It's kind of serviceable, which is good. Got a couple of reasonable sized capacitors in this thing. That makes 3 on the audio board. So I'll check those. But given that it's quickly ran, what I might do, put some low voltage up to it. It's a 9 volt radio. I might put 5 volts into it and just let it sit for a while and reform the capacitors, because the people that I got it from had told me that it has not been used for at least 20-25 years. So this is interesting with the bass and treble here, how they've got it, a dial cord running through with the spring and everything. So that operates, I can get that there, that operates in that manner, which is pretty cool. But look at all the work and the componentry that's gone into this thing. Now you can see why it was a very expensive unit in the beginning. That's pretty cool there, the volume control on off, gives you an indication whether it's on or off. But nicely laid out, very serviceable. Very serviceable. Two pretty reasonable speakers there. And our little nest of rat turd, which fortunately hasn't really done much else damage apart from this chap here. Okay, so a bit of soldering, make up some fresh connections. Again, I'll make it dual fuel. I'll make it for 9 volt, like a little 9 volt cube battery and some D-size batteries. I'll see if I can get the original housing working again. And I'm going to have a go at sorting out this dial cord and see what's going on with it. Alright. Okay, well I've unraveled the tangled mess for the dial cord for the band select. So we got one half of it here, the other half of it down there. I think at this stage I should be able to get that back together. And looking at this little diagram down here, not going to be too bad. Looks like according to this, the spring, where am I? According to this, the spring hooks into a hole, wraps around that, through that capstan, up that way, across the top, down the side, back across the bottom, and then back down again. So shouldn't be too bad. So with a bit of luck, we'll get this band select, which is every time you select bands, it's supposed to jump across to each different barrel here on the capstan. Because it would be nice to have that fully functional, and then if I can get that sorted out, then really this is going to be a fine radio. It'll just need eventually, which I'll probably never find, but a battery door and at least a door for the power supply here. And this chap, I'm still perplexed what that is. I think that's somebody's little homemade invention there. So we've still got the antenna, the rear antenna plugs here, so they're good. I couldn't see them before, but they're actually tucked up behind it all. So yeah, I'll have a play with this dial cord and see if I can copy this whole section here and rethread it, and that'll be good. Well, I was able to restring the dial cord, which is really good. The one for this band select here, because that was completely chewed by mouse. Yeah, there's this cord going along here through these two pulleys across, back down and around this pulley over here. Working that out was a bit of a nightmare. I will include right at the very end of this video a still shot of the schematic for the dial cord, so more than likely at some stage down in the future somebody will pick up one of these and the cord will be broken like this one was, and they'd want to know how to restring that. But now that part of the radio is working absolutely fine. So once that's all together, this is going to make a lot of sense. So yeah, stringing these things is pretty difficult. And you need, if you can't find anything readily available, what you're after is nylon braided cord, which is what this is. And in this case, the cord, just to give those, this is for the benefit of those trying to do this job in the future, because it's quite confusing, even when you're looking at the over here, even when you're looking at the schematic for it, it's actually quite confusing. But what it ends up being is you come off the spring, comes out the pulley, wraps around twice, and then after the second turn, then it runs straight up over to this pulley and then starts its journey across to the other two pulleys, back across, down underneath, comes underneath this pulley and wraps around a half a turn and back into the spring. It's actually pretty easy once you've got it nutted out, and it comes together quite easily too. So alright, now I'm going to move on to the next phase, which is rewiring this thing for power. And then it's up to doing some detail work on the cabinet. Okay, I've removed this ridiculous terminal block, which doesn't live in a radio at all. And earlier on in this video, I made reference to I'm going to make this radio dual fuel. I may as well. I mean, it's been tampered with that much. So yeah, with the main power supply missing, which lived over here, I've been able to tap into it, find the DC power supply for it, and the modification I'm going to do is make it dual fuel. Like I said, two batteries basically. So what I've got to switch here is I can switch here between the 9-volt Cube battery, which is one of those, flick the switch and run on the D cells. So I've still yet to clean out the battery compartment and wire that up, but I can sit a 9-volt Cube battery in here, no worries, and I can put the little switch in the back here. It's just handy, may as well. I mean, it's a 9-volt radio. You'll still get anywhere up to 4 to 6 hours on just one of these batteries on this thing, which is handy if you go away or whatever. Anyway, who knows, but just a bit of fun. So yeah, ordinarily run 6 D-size batteries. I'll make it be able to run on either or, which is just convenience really. These are plentiful, cheap, simple, jump into the main power line, switch between one or the other. So all I've got to do now is wire those two up, which is really at a stage now where I need to go through and clean up the whole cabinet deal, get rid of all the mouse crap that's still in it. There we go. We've still got a lovely bit of mouse turd in there. Yeah, clean all this up, both sides. Very old looking, very dusty looking. Yeah, detail this thing up and then it's ready to go back together and actually run. But what I'm going to do now is I'll hook up my 9-volt supply in terms of the Cube battery, and we'll just give it a quick bench run and make sure that everything's still working and still okay. Okay, I've wired that up. So 9-volt Cube batteries in, plumbed up. These two wires, positive, negative, they're going to go to the battery box in the back cover. And at the moment she's switched over to run off of these, which will be the D size. So there you go. So that's all running fine. To get this run, or to make sure it runs properly, you do have to connect up the tuning indicator and battery battery meter. So yeah, all working fine.
Universally, others not so much, like the dog and the shadow.
So yeah, option to go either D cell or cube. Handy when you're running low on power on one or the other, you can just switch over. Makes it easy. Alright, where to from here is now restoration of the cabinet. Detail that all up, get rid of all the mouse crap, and put the chassis in, reattach everything, and she should be good. Okay. Okay guys, here's the final product of the National Panasonic R3000. Completely resurrected from the barn, up and running, and now fully detailed. Well, you know, as detailed as I could possibly get it. But certainly looking a hell of a lot better than what it was. Now if we pop this down, if you ever come across one of these, they're absolutely awesome for AM DXing and shortwave. They're a fantastic unit, plenty of power, not bad looking. You know, 1965, so it's what, 58 years old, so it's not looking too bad for 58 years old. Around the back here, see I've got my 9-volt battery there. Underneath you can see I've got the D size batteries down there. Over here, little switch between the two, because it's 9 volts, why not? May as well. Someone's already bastardized it by taking out the power supply, so I thought I'd just do a little bit of a modification and, like I said, make it dual fuel or dual powered. Comes in handy when one lot of batteries go flat, at least you got the other one to fall back on. So but that was an easy job. So yeah, basically electronically this was pretty easy to sort out. It was just a matter of tracking back and finding out where the power goes from the for the DC supply. Probably the hardest thing about it all was fixing up the dial cord for this indicator here. But apart from that, the rest of it was relatively easy. I just checked through everything. Everything seemed to be quite fine. In fact, it really doesn't appear to have, you know, a tremendous amount of use. And fortunately it wasn't terribly corroded inside either, so wherever it was or wherever it's been sitting for many years, probably 25-30 years, was a pretty dry environment, because inside, apart from one spot where the batteries have leaked, yeah, it was fine, just a tiny little spot of corrosion in one little corner. So up and running, let's have a look.
People actually watch women's sport. You see, because in America, women's sport grabs eye about ice.
Mission Chandrayaan 1.
The water kind, not the drug kind, right?
That's right, exactly. That's
Yes.
right. You know, this is the H2O, you know, as you think about it, ice, not weird space ice or anything like that, right?
So we'll do a channel sweep in a little bit, just to show you the sensitivity of it on AM band. But no, job done, running well. Okay, to recap and conclude this video, I've been working on this barn find National Panasonic R3000. It's AM and shortwave only. The RF3000 was AM, FM and shortwave. Just to give you a physical idea of the size of it, because it's always very hard to do that on a video, it's actually a really reasonable sizable radio. We're talking roughly 14 and a half inches long, or what's that, 365 millimeters in length, and its height is let's say 10 inches or 255 millimeters, and its depth is 4.5 inches or 120 millimeters. Okay, let's do a quick traditional channel sweep to see the sensitivity. Now this is just on AM. I'm not going to bother going through the shortwave bands, but to recap on what I did there, yeah, I ended up having to restring the dial indicator for the shortwave bands. That was a bit of a nightmare. At the very end of this video, I'm going to include a still shot of the schematic for winding up the dial cords. That covers the dial cord for the indicator here. It also covers the one for the main tuning, as well as the dial cord schematics for the bass and treble. So let's do a quick sweep. We'll go from the top of the band on the AM band down to the lower, just to get an idea of the sensitivity of it. So straight away we're picking up something. I've picked up, the furthest I've picked up on this so far is about 3,500 kilometers on AM band.
Or you can apply it against any other capital gain, any other asset. Here's the thing.
Four corners in a kind of like that moment where
talking about the Labour Party offered an alternative approach, or is it just on the Australian playbook, Ian?
Η φωτιά στο Λάμπιο έχει τεθεί υπό έλεγχο.
We'll try and get an answer for you as the night progresses. The beauty of a show like this,
so that's a local station right there. All the others weren't.
Some kind of
there's a lot of noise like that because I'm running fluorescent tubes, unfortunately, so it's picking up the fluorescent tube transformers and a couple of other issues.
On the world after that recording. Can we help something for you? Imogen has got a problem.
So the fine tune, let's check that out. In this instance, got two channels close together.
I might be able to help with this one. Coca-Cola can sometimes assist.
So the fine tune sensitivity is quite good too, especially when you've got two channels that are close together like that.
Our classic hits sound better on your smart speaker.
Just ask Google to play Magic 1278.
1278. I'm not sure where that is. It's not in my state, that's for sure.
Certainly an advantage to speed too strong late instead of run to the line. Peter was
Aboriginal people should be flogged to get them to understand.
So that's local, obviously.
So you think I'm basic?
That's not.
Jono laugh.
Commercial TV will see it as well.
Shut it, yellow
no boost. He can't bounce that.
That's not local either.
Even go in the drawers for please. $1 voucher and Denali equal the key at 3. After the 3 o'clock news during the home stretch, thanks to Denali Bakery on Gold Central Victoria.
Just one bite.
Okay, that's Central Victoria, so that's middle of the state next door to me. I'm in South Australia. That's a fair way away too.
Our body and our cells that adequate.
And that.
Here's the thing though, if you took that same amount of money and paid it into an ordinary bank account that's paying say for.
So in the top end of the band, pretty much every millimetre I'm rolling the tumbler here, it's picking up a station.
And in humans, is that
that's
by
local.
restricting the amount of time
a year, you offloading $1,000 effectively earns you $15,000 into what's called a funeral fund, which is not an insurance thing. It's like a...
Obviously, that's local. Almost needs an RF gain because the local stations are just so strong.
Yeah, you do it.
Is not. I was thinking about buying something and then having to do it up. But
not local again.
That's another thing that happens too.
Well,
the only way this works now is if we meld.
But it's not an insurance thing. Tax, well, that's entirely up to you. Because of the asset, it's saying that for each $1,000 over, you lose $3 of pension. Well, if you've actually paid in $15,000 into this funeral fund,
this isn't a local station either.
With us, Texter converts it in.
And it's a reconciliation to them, like in a respectful way.
To zero tax on the earnings, and because he's over 60.
Yeah, right, whatever. And then we're at the end of the band. So yeah, sensitivity on AM on this thing is really good. Like I said, furthest I've gone so far is a little over 3,000 kilometres. And that's from my dining room table, so bloody excellent. I've tried out the short waves; they're fantastic as well. I picked up Canada the other night from here in Adelaide. So yeah, brilliant radio, excellent for DXing. That's it, folks.